The July heat was unbearable that Saturday afternoon when I heard the sharp click-clack of heels pounding the pavement. I peeked through the blinds and saw her, Patricia Garrison, the self-appointed queen of our HOA, storming toward the community pool, phone glued to her ear, barking about trespassers and unauthorized use. The rising wail of sirens in the distance made me smile. Everything was going perfectly. Patricia stopped dead at the pool gate. Her jaw dropped, eyes wide. Her phone nearly slipped from her hand. What she saw left her speechless. Let me rewind 3 weeks. I'm Alex Thompson. Just moved into Riverside Meadows after landing a new software job. Seemed like a great place. Quiet streets, tidy homes, and a community pool to survive this 95-degree summer. On day 3, I headed to the pool office to get my access key. Patricia sat behind a mountain of binders like some suburban gatekeeper. Her smile was cold. When I asked about pool access, she smugly said there was a 90-day waiting period for new residents. I asked where that was written. She tapped a binder labeled Cool Regulations and said it was standard practice. When I pressed, she claimed the rules were under review and unavailable. I filed 3 formal requests over the next 2 weeks, each denied. First, my paperwork was incomplete. Then she questioned my lease. Finally, she said there was a waiting list for keys. It became clear this wasn't about rules, this was about control. That's when the citation started. My car was 2 inches over my driveway. My trash bins were out 7 minutes too long. One plant on my porch was half an inch too tall. She even crouched behind my hedge one morning with a measuring tape. Everything changed the night I bumped into my neighbor, Tom Bradley. Tom had lived here 15 years and was on the board before Patricia took over. Over coffee, he dropped a bomb. The vacant lot next to the pool, it wasn't HOA land. It was city-owned public space, no HOA jurisdiction. That night, I started planning. By Monday, I'd secured all necessary city permits and hired Aquafun Rentals. The following Saturday, under a blazing 98-degree sun, I watched as a 25-foot above-ground pool was assembled right next to the HOA pool on that public lot. It had a filter, safety signage, shade umbrellas, lounge chairs, coolers, and music playing at a respectful level. A bright banner read, "Thompson's Oasis, all neighbors welcome." By noon, families were arriving. The Johnsons came with their kids. The Patels showed up too. They'd also been blocked from using the HOA pool. Soon, over 20 neighbors were laughing, swimming, and enjoying themselves without a single HOA restriction in sight. Then Patricia arrived, slammed her car door like a judge's gavel, and marched over screaming about permits, violations, and lawsuits. But when she saw the posted permits, she stammered just for a second. Then she dialed 911. She told the dispatcher there were trespassers using the HOA pool. Multiple neighbors filmed her ranting and gesturing wildly like she was casting a spell. Moments later, 2 police cruisers pulled up. Officers Davis and Martinez stepped out, looking more confused than concerned. Patricia pounced, shouting about property rights and community safety. She led them to the HOA pool gate, fumbled with her keys, and found it completely empty. The sounds of fun were coming from my side of the fence. Officer Davis checked the rental setup. When he returned, he smiled and said everything was 100% legal. Proper permits, public space, noise within limits. Patricia was fuming, throwing around words like zoning violations and undermining authority. Officer Martinez just shrugged and said, "There's no law against having a good time." By 3 p.m., over 40 neighbors had joined in. Even a few HOA board members showed up, including Treasurer Mark Sullivan, who brought soda and thanked me publicly. That evening, an emergency board meeting was called. Patricia tried to push a rule banning pop-up pools near HOA property. Instead, the board voted to review all pool access rules and investigate her abuse of authority. The vote? 6-1. Patricia was the only no. By week's end, video clips of Patricia screaming at an empty pool went viral. Local news ran the story with the headline, "HOA President Calls Cops on Legal Pool Party." Her employer got flooded with complaints. A petition to remove her circulated and got over 200 signatures, over 80% of the neighborhood. At the final hearing, Patricia showed up with a lawyer, but residents came armed with photos, paperwork, and testimony. The board's legal counsel said her actions exposed the HOA to liability. The vote to remove her as president? Unanimous. She was banned from HOA office for 5 years. As security walked her out, she pointed at me and shrieked, "You ruined everything!" I just raised my glass and smiled as the crowd applauded. Patricia's reign of petty terror was finally over.